Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday. So, today I want to talk about hitting burnout. And it's interesting, I have been talking to a lot of women, I guess over the last week or so, and it feels like there is a heaviness. I know that sounds crazy to say because when during the last 10 months has there not been heaviness? I am noticing, and perhaps it's just part of this up and down cycle that we're in, that there is a moment, it feels for me and in my circle of people that I talk to, that there is a moment of big heaviness right now and burnout. And so I wanted to talk about it because I think that it's one of the things that we don't talk enough about. I think especially for people who are wanting to be in service of other people, and sometimes we can have this idea that we have to show this front that we are doing it all right and we never burn out and we're like doing our self-care epically every day. And the reality is that there are many things that are outside of our control when it comes to hi today, when it comes to what's on our plates. And so I want to talk about what happens to me in burnout, what it feels like, things that I have discovered about my process that might be helpful for you. And also just to let you know that I don't want to say it's okay if you're in burnout, because I know it feels like shit and it's a very difficult place to be in. And I want you to know you're not alone. You're not failing. You are human. You are doing your best. So many of us are hitting the wall right now. And almost the best thing that we can do is talk to each other about it and share our stories and share what we're learning and share the load, share the heaviness. So this is part of what I want to do here today. Okay, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about why I think women hit burnout a lot. And these are all evolving thoughts. So as I learn and grow and experience more, sometimes my ideas change. These are just my ideas right now. I want to talk about what happens to me, why I am in burnout, I think, right now, and then 4 things that keep me stuck and 4 things that help me move forward. And I hope that there's a gold nugget in here for you, because I really desire to take a little bit of the load off of you right now, because I know we're carrying so much, all of us, to different degrees, and all facing our own stories during COVID. Okay, here's why I think women burn out. I think we burn out, because life throws stuff at us that we have no control over, and all of a sudden everything is too much, and that's just life. So if we put it in that context, we can then expect that we will always have periods of overwhelm. We'll always have periods of burnout, and it's not because we're doing anything wrong, it's just because of life. The other reason I believe that women hit burnout is because we are really greedy. We have a lot of hunger for the things that we want. We want to be certain types of parents to our kids. We want to start the business. We want to do the art. We want to help our communities. We want to find the meaning. We want to have the relationships. We want to have the fun. We want to do so much. And sometimes it's too much and we hit burnout. And it's just because women are hungry. We want a lot of stuff in our lives, and we're ambitious, and we put energy towards it, and we are just so magnificent. That's one thing that's so magnificent about us. And sometimes it leads to burnout. So we've got life, we've got desires, things that we want in our life. And then I think the third thing that's really interesting idea for me, and I hope it also lets you ruminate a little bit, is that our capacities change. So sometimes we can be going along and doing everything that we usually do, and what we don't realize is that an internal capacity has changed, which means our energy is lower for some reason, or we have higher energy. Our emotional capacity is less or it is more. We are not static beings. So sometimes just when we're doing our ordinary stuff, we hit burnout and we might think, why am I burning out? This is exactly what I do all the time. What is wrong with me, right? Because we're so good at going to that voice. What is wrong with me? And if you think of a woman as this fully alive, fully fleshed out, breathing, natural creature who has all the moods, all the flavors, all the stages. She is like nature in human form. Then we can start to see, oh, I am not a robot. I don't live in a static state all the time. I'm constantly shifting, constantly changing. And so what I did yesterday might not be what I do today, might not be what I want to do today, might not be what I'm capable of doing today. So those are the three things that I think lead to us going into burnout. One is we just want so much stuff, and sometimes it's a bit too much for us at any particular time. Cool. Love that you have desires. 2, life. Well, you're human, so we're all living life, so we just can't do anything about that. 3, our capacities change. So why did I hit burnout? I'm climbing out, but no, I would say I'm still in my retreat phase of burnout right now. So I'm talking from the trenches, as it were. Sometimes we don't know why we hit burnout, and we can spend a lot of time trying to justify it, explain it, reason it, put the pieces together. And I would say there's a place for that. And I would also say, like, sometimes we just have to be like, I'm burned out and I don't know why. And that's cool. Now I'm going to tend to myself. So for me right now, emotional burnout is the thing that I'm dealing with. Not so much physical, not so much mental. Of course, they have aspects and they get affected, of course, by the emotional. But I've got kids that are showing stress of COVID, kids that are showing the stress of 2 parents in stress. We are moving out of the city where we've lived. My guy and I, we've lived here, I guess, for the last 25 years. This house that we are leaving, we have lived in together for 12 years. It's where we met each other. It's where my 2 kids were born. It is filled with stuff from my mom, whose house it was. So that is a big, dealing with a lot of stuff emotionally with the kids, trying to keep them well. And my daughter's struggling and having a hard time and lashing out because she's having a hard time at school, so she brings that home. Then the moving, all of the stuff around the emotional requirements, like what we will be emotionally and what I will be emotionally feeling during the next 2 months, packing up the house and going through everything. And then, COVID. So burnout, hit the wall. So for me, hitting the wall feels like I have no energy. I can't do anything that I usually do. So morning routine, just want to sleep in. Working out every day, can't be bothered. I cry a lot. For me, that's a big emotional release. I want to cry. In fact, this morning I was listening to CBC, Metro Morning, and they were talking about being at a Christmas tree farm and people buying their Christmas trees. I just cried. I just bawled. So crying all the time, which is actually such a healthy thing to do. It's a beautiful, healthy, necessary way to release stress. So I encourage crying a lot. I feel maxed out. I retreat. I withdraw into myself. I get very impatient. I get angry. Everything seems hopeless. And I go into a dark place. And this is a good thing for us to know. Like, what are my signs of going into burnout? And the faster we can recognize them, the faster we can be like, oh, something is off here. I'm depleted in some way. Let me figure out what's going on. Not maybe the reason that it's happening, but I am physically tired, therefore I must rest more. I am emotionally tired, therefore I must get more emotional nourishment and start saying no to people who are taking from me emotionally, right? Okay. For me, there's kind of two stages of being in this pit of despair, like being in burnout, like when you hit it and you feel it. Phase one for me is a phase that I always go into. I don't think I will ever not go into it. And it is almost the stage of denial. It is the stage of resistance. It is the stage of really shitty feelings. And I haven't found my way to move through it yet. There's 4 things that I do in that stage that if I don't recognize and if I don't change, I stay in there for a long time. One is I get stuck in judgment. So for me, judgment sounds like, why is this enough reason for me to be burned out? Like it's almost like I want to take this tally. What are all the good reasons, the valid reasons that will give me permission to hit burnout? Why is everybody else seeming like they're handling everything great and I'm falling apart? A sense of failure. A sense of failure, not being able to do it or not being able to hold it together. Judgment to me feels like, oh, you teach epic care and here you are in burnout. You must not be very good at epic care. So there's something interesting that happens when we go into a survival mode to whatever degree and from whatever external or internal source it comes. All of the old thoughts, all of the old stories, the blueprint of us, and this includes all the things that we are trying to change, the ways that we think or behave that we are trying to change, they come back in survival mode. So for me, that's what happens at the big stage. I go into all the old stories. I go into all the old bullshit. And that's just part of the process. So I'm in judging. The second thing I do is sometimes I try to skip over it. I'm like, I don't really have time to burn out right now or to recover or to not do everything that I want to do. So I'm just going to try to pump up my energy and I'm just going to try to jump into joy. And I'm just going to, like, if I do enough dance breaks, I'll get over it. Here's the thing about what I will call darker emotions. And I'm not judging because they are essential for our lighter emotions. Calling them darker so we have this common feeling for what they are, what they feel like, right? So the grief, the sadness, hopelessness, defeat, powerlessness, disappointment, rage, all this stuff. If they are not felt and dealt with, you cannot just skip to joy. It doesn't work, trust me. If it worked, I would be doing it all the time. I'd be like, oh, I feel horrible and so angry and so sad. Dance break, done, over. It doesn't work. I wish it did, but it doesn't. So the more time I spend trying to like skip over all the hard stuff, which means I don't want to think about it, I don't want to say it, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to acknowledge it, I'm just going to do my dance break or get a pedicure, the more time I stay stuck in it. So, number 3, this is the third thing that I do. I go into my victim. Ooh. Do you know what your victim says to you? Like, do you know the voice of your victim? It's interesting to know the words that our victim says. So my victim is, my victim is like blame, but also refusal to deal with anything. It's COVID, it's my guy, it's my kids, it's the school system, it's the boom, it's the boom, it's the boom. And I can get really stuck in the victim, really stuck in blaming. And all of those in a way have, of course, valid points. My life is affected, just like yours, by other people, by external factors. And it is important to acknowledge that, which I will come to later. But for me, in that mindset of victim and blaming, it keeps me exactly where I am. The victim doesn't want me to move forward. She's like, let's just stay here for a while because this is my territory. So the fourth thing I do is I stop moving. And sometimes that happens just for a few days and sometimes it's perfect. So sometimes when I take a break from moving, it's exactly what I need. And my physical body just needs to rest, and I love rest, and I believe in rest. And then there becomes a point where it becomes stagnant energy, And it also prevents my emotions and anything changing, because it just has this frozenness, right? This frozenness about it. And again, these ideas of keeping stuck. So going into burnout, going into default programming, going into blueprint, old stories, thoughts, behaviors, patterns. And when we're there, we just say, oh, here I am. I recognize this place. These are the things that I do in this place right now. And we become aware of them. And then as soon as we can, when we can, we shift to things that we know will allow us to move through the burnout in a healthy way. It sounds strange to say, but I do believe that we can go through a dark period either in a very destructive way or in a healthier way. And sometimes we don't get to choose. Sometimes darkness is destructive, and that's what darkness is for us at that moment. Sometimes we are able to choose how we do the journey. So there's 4 things that I do that help me move through the process. The first one is I come to this place where I'm doing my 4 R's. I retreat, I reevaluate, I rest, and I refill. I retreat, meaning I don't take on anything else. In fact, I say no to things. I withdraw for myself. I withdraw from my family, which means that I'm still feeding people and connecting with people, but I get very greedy about my energy. It needs to be for me now. So I retreat from the world and from life as much as I'm able to. Reevaluate. This is the perfect place to be like, I don't know if I actually want to do all the stuff that I'm doing. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. So in reevaluation, we can, for example, I'll use myself as a real living example. So reevaluate. Do I want to work out? Do I want to keep this workout schedule? What is it good for? What do I not like about it? If I stopped it for a while, what would happen? If I stopped it forever, what would happen? Reevaluate. What about my morning routine? Reevaluate it. What does it really do something for me? Do I really believe in it? What happens if I didn't do it? What happens when I do it? Reevaluate. So I'm going to retreat, I reevaluate, and then I rest. And this might mean I have a nap during the day. And I know that there's a million reasons not to have a nap. So this just comes down to choice. Am I choosing to refill myself, or am I choosing to fulfill obligations? And sometimes those obligations are not important. They really aren't. And then refill. What helps me to refill? So right now I'm refilling through other people, talking and connecting with other people, which if they're the right people, is a great way to refill. I'm doing some free webinars and some events with teachers that just allow me to receive. So that's a great way for me to refill. So as soon as I'm thinking of this, I'm retreating, I'm intentionally reevaluating, I'm resting, I'm refilling, then I have taken charge really of the burnout. I can't control it, but I am in charge of how I'm moving through it. Then I need to tell the truth. These are the 4 things that I have to do in order to move through it. I got to tell the truth. I got to tell the truth to myself first. This is what I'm judging. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking. This is what's hard. This is what's breaking my heart. This is what's pissing me off. And I talk. And so for me, walking and talking is magic. I just go for a walk by myself and I talk to myself. Oh, these are all the things that I'm judging. These are all the thoughts that I'm having about myself right now. This is what I'm responding to. This is what I think it is. This is what feels really hard. This is what's so frustrating. I tell the truth. And telling the truth to ourselves is super important. And then when we're able to, we can even up-level the sense of power and agency by telling the truth to somebody else. So, feeling the feels. So this is kind of the antidote to skipping over the darkness, is feeling the feels. Physically feeling the feels. So that might mean you just cry a lot. You just let yourself cry a lot. It might mean that you get pissed off and you let yourself feel feel pissed off and you're screaming into a pillow and you're pounding on your mattress and you're letting yourself feel it. What doesn't get felt, oh, there's a good saying, something. What doesn't get felt, What doesn't get expressed gets suppressed, maybe? I don't know. If you don't feel your feels, they go somewhere. They go somewhere. They don't just leave magically through your brain. They stay with you. Longer conversation. Third thing that I have to do is start breaking all the rules that I have. So all the rules that determine what I think I need to do. When I need to rest, the rule about you have to do your morning routine, because if you don't do it, you're going to fall apart, and it means that you're not ambitious, and it means that you're never going to get anywhere, and it means that you don't have any momentum and you're not focused on your work. I have to break that rule. No, it doesn't mean that. It means that I need to take a week off and get some extra sleep. Rules about, you've been invited to a Zoom Christmas party from a relative. I don't want to go. I do not have the emotional capacity for it. I said no to it. I broke a rule that says you have to accept every invitation, especially from family, especially around the holidays. Breaking rules around how much I have to connect with my kids. Emotionally depletion is a real thing. And breaking the rule of me thinking that every time my kids are around, I have to fulfill their every desires. I have to say yes. I have to spend all this time connecting with them. No, that is a rule that I need to break for right now until I am better able to do it. But I got to do me first. It's so essential. What other rules? Oh, I've been doing, my kids don't like to listen to the radio. Fair enough. It's a little bit depressing these days, but for some reason I love listening to the radio. I love the voice. I just like to hear other voices. So what I do is I put my AirPods in, and literally for the whole morning, I'm having conversations with my kids and listening to the radio. So I'm breaking the rule that says I can't do something because they don't want it at the same time. I'm like, nope, I want to do that. It's good for me, so I'm going to do that. So we got to break rules, and they're really our own rules. And then the fourth thing that I have to do in order to start moving through it is I got to get moving physically. And for me, the easiest entry point into that is always walking. Just walking. There's something about the body moving that lets the emotions move, that lets the thoughts go, that lets things just get a bit more fluid and accessible, and it gets us out of here, right? Into, okay, now I can see things a little bit more clearly, think a little bit more clearly, feel more clearly what's going on. So getting moving for me is crucial. So, in summary, burnout is real. Burnout is happening. It will likely happen for the rest of your life at some points. We cannot avoid burnout, I don't think. Burnout comes because life. Burnout comes because we are fluid creatures. Burnout comes because we have a lot of desires and we want to do a lot of stuff, and sometimes it's too much, and sometimes we don't know it's too much until we get there. So the only thing that we can do is find the best way to go through burnout, to move through it, and to love ourselves deeply inside of it. And we need to talk about it, because we can't just share the bright, shiny stuff. It is a part of us. It is a part of the experience, and it's beautiful, and I love it, and it is not the full experience. They come hand in hand. So I would love to hear, are you in burnout right now? What are you doing for yourself in burnout? Are you breaking any rules? Are you spending some time judging yourself? Are you reevaluating what you do and finding some new answers and some new clarity there? Love you guys. See you later. Let me know what you thought. I'd love to share this with you. Bye.